Guy Raz and Mindy Thomas host the #1 kids podcast, Wow in the World. They've got a brand new book. It's called Wow in the Wild, The Amazing World of Animals. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well,
Thanks, Rudy.
Guy, let's go ahead and start a little bit about the book. 9 million species of animals. How did you pick the ones, and what are we going to see in this book?
That was one of the hardest choices we had to make because, as you say, there are 9 million species. But I think for us, the most important thing was choosing species that that kids could relate to, animals and animal species that did unusual things. But of course, we also focus on some of the traditional animals like pandas and cheetahs and giraffes. And so it was really a chance for us to kind of look around this incredible world that we inhabit and think about ways that we could engage, inspire, and deepen kids' connections to animals, because let's face it, we are animals too. And so we've got to know about ourselves and about the other species around us.
Oh, exactly. Mindy, I want to go ahead and ask you, I know as a kid, for me, when I'd go to the zoo, obviously, as a young kid, you think cats and dogs are the only animals, or that every place is the same. But knowing that there's like animals that are, exclusive to Australia or to Europe or to, South Africa, and your mind is just blown. Do you remember like what animal as you were a kid that you were like, oh my goodness, this is like the coolest and I want to learn more about animals?
Yeah, it was the naked mole rat. Have you ever seen naked mole rats?
Oh yes, very similar to hairless cats.
They're so ugly. They're so ugly. They're cute, and they're all climbing over each other, and they're blind, and their teeth work different. They work different. The two front teeth work at different times. They're amazing. So I think I always like kind of the ugly, underappreciated animals. I think those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody needs the same amount of love, right?
They all do. Yeah. Just because an animal is an eyesore does not mean make it a bad animal.
Right.
Oh, exactly. I do want to talk. You both were just in Chicago doing a tour. Fans can also see you in Denver coming up in a couple of weeks. What's it like to be able to bring the show to live audiences once again, especially for kids that, admire the both of you? Guy, I want to go ahead and start.
We had so much fun in Chicago. It was our second time playing the Chicago Theater. It's such an incredible, beautiful venue, historic theater right there in downtown. And to be out there and to look at an audience of thousands of people singing our theme song, laughing at Mindy's jokes. Mindy has a bunch of these sayings on the show, like, of course I'm not sure, or she'll say bonker balls, and to hear all the kids say it with her, to laugh and to just be engaged with the music that we play it's one of the most amazing things that you can possibly imagine. When we're adults, we're grown-ups. We live in an adult world, and then we get to inhabit this kid world, and it's just magical.
Oh, exactly. And Mindy, what about for you?
Yeah, it's getting to play with this audience. It's a super interactive show. And, we have a meet and greet at the end where we get to meet kids. And it's so gratifying for kids to come to us and to tell us that now they want to be scientists. We've got little girls, we've got little boys. And to know that the work that these scientists are doing, they're working so hard. And scientists are fighting against a lot right now. And to know that kids are believing in it and inspired by it themselves, to know that we can communicate that to families means a lot to us.
I do want to ask both of you this question, and Guy, I'll go ahead and start with you. But as a young kid in grade school, I was obsessed with Star Wars and everything. I wanted to talk about the films, and I remember having a science teacher in grade school who overheard me talking and then said, well, let's learn about the planets, and let's learn about how ships work, and let's learn about the water, and let's learn about ice, and all these things that you never thought. And that made me want to be interested because it pegged off something that I loved, but also like opened my eyes to this whole world of like that I never thought I would be so involved in. And I went to museums and whatnot. Who was the inspiration for both of you to make learning fun?
I love that story because I just imagine like the X-Wing fighter, like Yoda trying to lift that from the swamp, the physics involved in that. I mean, that could be an amazing science lesson in and of itself. I think that I'm inspired by people like Carl Sagan. I mean, Carl Sagan was one of the greatest science communicators in human history. And I remember as a kid watching those documentaries on PBS and how he could take, like, for example, a map of ancient Egypt to show how the Greeks were able to determined that the earth is round simply because of the bend from, I think it was Cairo to Alexandria or something like that. And it's just amazing to watch what he was able to do. Of course, you know, there are some other great science communicators today out there. And so that whole concept, that whole idea, I think is really what sort of we try to infuse with what we do.
And what about for you, Mindy?
Oh, for me, there was a TV show called Mr. Slim Goodbody. Are you familiar with it?
I am not. No, but I got to look this up.
Oh, you got to look it up. He wore a kind of a skin tight suit that looked like your guts. It looked like your guts and your muscles on the outside. And then his set looked like whatever parts of the body he was exploring. So it took us inside the human body. And that was the inspiration, I think, for writing our first book, which was The How and Wow of the Human Body, where you can get inside of a world that you don't have access to through what scientists have been able to discover about these things. That's what gets me excited.
And the game operation too.
And the game operation. That's really our North Star.
That is amazing. Guy, Mindy, thank you so much for your time today. Of course, go ahead and check out the podcast, Wow in the World, and then the brand new book, Wow in the Wild, The Amazing World of Animals, in bookstores now. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks,
Thank
Rudy.
you, Rudy.